there is a quiet heaviness that many Capricorns carry, long before they ever have language for it. It doesn't come from obvious failure. It doesn't come from chaos or lack of direction. In fact, from the outside, Capricorn life often looks solid, responsible, even impressive. And yet, when one Capricorn meets another, someone with the same sign, the same discipline, the same seriousness toward life, a strange disconnect can appear. You recognize the ambition, you recognize the restraint, but something about the way they carry their weight feels different from you. And a question slowly forms. One most Capricorns never say out loud. Why does this feel heavier for me than it does for them? Capricorn is known as the sign of responsibility, structure, and long-term effort. The one who plans ahead, the one who holds things together, the one who doesn't complain. So when a Capricorn feels exhausted by life itself, not just by work, but by the constant pressure to be capable, it can feel confusing, even isolating. But the truth is this: Capricorn was never meant to carry weight in only one way. Much of the difference begins at birth, specifically, whether a Capricorn is born in December or January. That timing shapes where the pressure comes from, how it's internalized, and why some Capricorns feel responsible for everyone, while others feel relentlessly responsible for themselves. If you've ever felt like you grew up too early, if you've ever felt guilty for resting, if you've ever felt that stopping would somehow erase your worth, this is where that tension comes from. And if astrology has ever helped you understand your inner pressure rather than judge it, take a moment to subscribe and stay with this channel. What follows isn't about praising Capricorn's strength. It's about understanding the cost of it. Capricorn energy is built for endurance. It's the sign that knows life isn't light and that progress requires structure, patience, and sacrifice. But endurance can turn into burden, and depending on the month of birth, that burden points in very different directions. Capricorns born in December carry early Capricorn energy. Their seriousness emerges quickly, often long before they feel ready for it. There is usually a sense that responsibility arrived early, sometimes through family expectations, sometimes through circumstance, sometimes simply through temperament. For December Capricorns, duty comes before desire. They learn, consciously or not, that things fall apart if they don't step in. That stability requires someone to hold the line, and that someone often becomes them. They don't necessarily chase success for recognition. They chase stability for themselves and often for others. Their sense of worth becomes tied to being dependable, useful, needed. In work, December Capricorns are the ones people lean on. They take responsibility seriously. They don't like cutting corners. They'll stay late, cover for others, and do what needs to be done without drawing attention to themselves. But inside, there is often a quiet fatigue, because December Capricorns rarely ask themselves what they want. They ask what's required, what's responsible, what keeps everything functioning. In relationships, they show love through consistency and care. They're loyal, protective, and deeply committed, but they can slip into caretaker roles without realizing it, slowly carrying emotional weight that was never meant to be theirs. Under stress, December Capricorns don't break loudly. They endure. They tighten their grip and keep going, even when they're exhausted. Rest can feel irresponsible. Slowing down can feel dangerous. Here's the uncomfortable truth about December Capricorn. They don't fear hard work. They fear letting people down. And that fear quietly shapes their entire life. January Capricorns carry Capricorn energy differently. Their seriousness is still there, but the pressure turns inward. Rather than feeling responsible for everyone else, January Capricorns feel responsible for becoming something. For them, life is not just something to manage, it's something to master. January Capricorns often grow up with high internal standards. They are deeply aware of hierarchy, progress, and achievement. They measure themselves constantly, not against others, but against an internal image of who they believe they should be. For January Capricorn, effort is personal. They push themselves hard. They expect discipline. They don't easily forgive their own mistakes. Weakness feels unacceptable not because others won't accept it, but because they won't. In work, January Capricorns are driven, focused, and strategic. They think long-term. They build careers with intention, but rest often feels unearned unless something tangible has been accomplished. In relationships, they value respect and independence. They may struggle to fully relax or open emotionally, not because they don't care, but because vulnerability feels like loss of control. Under stress, January Capricorns withdraw, they isolate, they double down on self-discipline, believing that if they just try harder, everything will stabilize again. Here's the difficult truth about January Capricorn. They don't fear responsibility. They fear not being good enough. This is where the contrast becomes clear. December, Capricorns carry weight for others. January, Capricorns carry weight for themselves. One feels guilty for resting. The other feels guilty for falling short. One stays strong, so no one else has to. The other stays strong, so no one can question their worth. But both are exhausted by the same illusion, that their value disappears the moment they stop carrying something. Capricorn doesn't fear effort. Capricorn fears becoming irrelevant. And over time, this fear creates a quiet, persistent heaviness. December Capricorn begins to feel emotionally drained, wondering why they're always the responsible one. January Capricorn begins to feel mentally drained, wondering why success never feels like enough. Neither feels free, because Capricorn's strength, when left unexamined, becomes a prison. The evolution of Capricorn doesn't come from pushing harder or caring more. It comes from redefining what responsibility actually means. December, Capricorns heal when they realize that caring does not require self-erasure and that letting others stand on their own does not make them selfish. January, Capricorns heal when they realize that worth is not earned through constant achievement and that rest is not a reward, but a requirement. True Capricorn maturity isn't about endless endurance. It's about sustainability. It's about knowing when to hold the weight and when to set it down. Capricorn was never meant to suffer in silence. It was meant to build something lasting. And nothing lasts when the builder is constantly exhausted. If you're a Capricorn, share your experience in the comments. Were you born in December or January, and did you recognize yourself in responsibility or self-pressure? And if you want to keep exploring the zodiac not as personality stereotypes, but as deep psychological patterns of survival and growth, subscribe. This series isn't about celebrating strength at all costs. It's about understanding what strength is meant to support, not consume.